pregnancy, and they followed their children for 20 years. And all of these were inner city individuals, women. They all gave birth, and obviously they tracked the lead levels. They tracked bone lead levels by X-ray diffraction, as well as blood lead levels. And they followed these kids until they were 5 or 6 years old, and then they followed them till they became 20. And they were able to show that with lead levels that no one would treat, you follow me?
Yeah, right. Subclinical lead levels.
If you divide them into quartiles, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, and 15 to 20, you could draw a straight line with the incidence of violent crime.
Wow. Have there been studies done of lead levels of criminals who are currently being incarcerated?
Absolutely, and there's correlations with lead levels because lead concentrates not only in the bone, but in the brain.
See, this gets to my...
And so let me make one important point, and that is all of what we're saying, all of this, what does it really mean? And what it really means is this. It's unlikely that we're going to legislate away all of these 80,000 chemicals. It's unlikely that we're going to begin to test all of the 80,000 chemicals in current use. We just have to accept the fact that if I took 100 people and I tested them right now, measuring bone levels and fat levels, because all of these organic chemicals are soluble in fat, and blood levels, everyone is carrying a burden of toxins, and it's different from one person to the next. What we do know is that pregnant moms pass these toxins onto the fetus. You can bet that my mother, 50 years ago plus, had a much lower concentration of all of these chemicals that are present in women today.
Right. It's just getting worse in society.
I went to medical school. The greatest breakthrough was birth control pills. Today, we have fertility clinics. Never had that when I was in medical school. We never heard of ADD and ADHD. The autism rates are higher. Children with leukemia, brain cancer, all of these things happening. What can we do about it? What we can do is make an understanding, a complete understanding, that we have to give kids a clear beginning. That is, the population that we have to get the message to, and we have to bring products to help them detoxify, is that group of people who are going to give birth to the next generation.
Childbearing age women, yeah.
College kids,
clearly.
Young adults. Yeah, it's important to take care of people who are older and middle-aged as well.
Well, but that's the thing. You've raised some fantastic points, and I want to just remind the listeners that you're listening to an interview with Dr. Stuart Lonke, the author of Invisible Killers. His website is invisiblekillers.com. We're going to continue this interview here on the Alex Jones Show. And in fact, if you're interested, if you'd like to call in and maybe ask a question of Dr. Lonke, we're going to open up the phones at 800-259-9231. So you can call in after this upcoming break. But you mentioned, Dr. Lonke, the correlation between lead presence in bone and tissues and violent crime, or at least incarceration for crimes. This brings me to the psychological and behavioral component of exposure to these heavy metals. This is what interests me in particular.
Well, it's a big factor. Lead and mercury are the two. You know, the hatters. You ever hear of the Mad Hatter?
Sure.
I'm sure your listeners are aware of the fact that's because they lined felt hats with mercury in the old days, and the hatters used to lick their brushes. That was mad as a hatter.
Yeah, it'll drive you insane. But this is my question: do you think that at least some portion of the insanity that we see across modern culture today is caused by this exposure to heavy metals?
Undoubtedly. There is not 1 ounce of scientific doubt in my mind. I think that it is one of the factors. What I want the listeners to understand is it's not the only factor.
Sure.
There are many factors that go into it. But if you can remove, just think about this, if we can remove this veil, take this veil away from all of what's going on in society today, behavioral abnormalities, medical abnormalities, the obesity epidemic, obesity in kids. Now, maybe your listeners will understand if you're born with all of these chemicals that are hormone emulators and stack the deck against you, metabolizing glucose normally, well, why wouldn't these kids get diabetes? wouldn't they have a higher incidence?
Well, and why wouldn't our prisons be filled with criminals? And doesn't this call into question the entire so-called criminal justice system? If punishing people for their, quote, behavior by throwing them in prison without treating some of what might be the causes, chemicals or metals poisoning, isn't that a completely incomplete and, in fact, an unjust system of justice?
Yes, but I think that the legal system, like the political system, are very, very difficult places to crack. I think we have to do this as a grassroots movement of education of young people, their parents. All right,
Dr. Luhnke, we got to go to break. I'm sorry to cut you off. Please stay with us, though. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes with more from Dr. Stuart Luhnke here on the Alex Jones Show. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do you know which 37 crucial food items are going to fly off the shelves when the next disaster hits? If you don't, you and your family may be without food and waiting in long food lines after a big disaster strikes. You would be surprised how many people don't have these food items right now. 123survivalplan.com has set up a For Patriots Only video with inside information on the 37 food items that will sell out first when the next disaster strikes. The video on 123survivalplan.com has crucial information you and your family need to prepare for any disaster, natural or man-made. And you won't have to be afraid of going hungry or being sent to a FEMA refugee camp. See the video that over 1 million other smart patriots have already seen in the last 4 months. Prepared now. Go to 123survivalplan.com and learn which 37 food items you should hoard. Easy to remember. 123survivalplan.com. Again, that's 123survivalplan.com.
Hey folks, this is Crazy Melvin for eFoods Direct, and I'm slashing prices to get you the best deals on your food supply. Call now and save on a 25-year food supply that can save your life when disaster strikes, because it will strike and it will smack you right upside the head, so keep...
Wait a minute, Melvin. I know eFoods Direct, and they're not full of hype like you. eFoods Direct goes to great lengths to ensure you get the best ingredients, full of nutrition and flavor. They are the real deal. Melvin, you're right about one thing, though. For Black Friday weekend, eFoods will save you 30% off anything on their website at efoodsdirect.com/Alex. Now, that's a deal with no hype. Call 800-409-5633 or go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex and save 30% off your entire order. This deal only lasts through Monday, November 28th, so call now. Call 800-409-5633 or go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex. Remember, 30% off this Black Friday weekend. Leave the hype to Crazy Melvin, because you can bet your life on eFoods Direct.
Storable foods, check. Water filters, check. Gold and silver, check. Tactical gear, check. What's missing from your survival checklist? An essential that should not be taken for granted. Storable vitamins and nutritional supplements. Since many foods do not contain the essential micronutrients your body needs, you need Survival RX, the world's first ultra-long-term storable vitamins and nutritional supplements. How long? Survival RX products have a shelf life of up to 30 years, thanks to triple nitrogen flushing for guaranteed freshness. Go to survivalrx.com for our complete product list, including powdered milk and whey protein isolate. And remember, November is Nuclear Disaster Preparedness Month at survivalrx.com. With every order until November 30th, you will receive a free bottle of potassium iodate. Just enter coupon code RADIO. Go to survivalrx.com. That's survival, the letter R, the letter X.com. Add survivalrx.com to your preparedness checklist today.
Oh, yes, we are back on this November 23rd, the day before Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. This is Mike Adams filling in for the Alex Jones Show here and tripping up my words just a little bit. But I hope you're enjoying the show. We are interviewing Dr. Stuart Luhnke, who is an expert in internal medicine and toxicology, and he was mentioning some of the food sources. He mentioned a lot of people eating sushi. Now, I don't know about you, Dr. Luhnke. I don't eat sushi. I only eat firebombed turkeys airdropped into vats of boiling oil. That is my diet. It's DHS compliant.
See, I should make people be aware of the fact that you can't get away from this. You talked about arsenic. You talked about arsenic in water, but how many people out there listening to your show have wood decks, have wood swing sets?
Oh, pressure-treated wood, yeah.
All that treated wood is treated with an arsenic-containing compound. Now, kids will crawl on it, and you will handle the wood, and then you'll make yourself a sandwich, won't you?
Yeah, but what?
And most of these toxins, I want the listeners to know, yes, for the women, cosmetics is a major source, but by and large, by far and away, the largest source mode of exposure to all of these toxins is you eat them.
Yeah.
Eat them. They're in the foods. They're on your hands, and some of them you inhale. There's no question. Some of them get through your skin, but ingestion, the GI tract, is the major introduction of most of these toxins.
Well, let's talk about that. When you ingest these toxins, I want to get to what, in your research and your experience, what kinds of effects do you see? Are people hallucinating? Do they hear sounds of chirping birds? Do they make bad decisions about elections? I mean, what is really the impact?
Well, I won't touch that one. But I think that, I think they're so subtle, Mike. That's the thing that's important for people to understand. People get stomach aches more frequently. They tend to have more constipation and then some diarrhea, and they tend to have nausea episodes. They tend to get muscle aches and pains. They are so nondescript. They are so nonspecific to a specific exposure. You would think, arsenic exposure. We're talking about arsenic toxicity. That's easy. We're talking about lead toxicity. That's easier. Those people become psychotic. They become problematic. But irrational behavior, unusual behavior, increased lethargy, all of these, people say, well, he's just run down. Well, he's under a lot of stress. Well, he's ingesting arsenic. They don't say that.
What percentage of the U.S. Congress do you think is suffering from heavy metals toxicity? I got to ask.
Congress are suffering from a significant amount of toxicity, but we all are. And the fact is it's happening imperceptibly to us. It happens generationally. It's easy. Hindsight is really 20/20, and that's why when we look at the data, we look at epidemiologic data, and we say it's unreasonable that the incidence of autism and behavioral deficit or attention deficit, and I call it behavioral deficit because it's more than just attention.
Yeah.
It's the whole behavior. You see these hyperactive kids, and I watch it all the time. It's very interesting. My younger daughter, detoxed for a year before she even got pregnant, all through her pregnancy. And I watch my grandson, who's 3, and his behavior contrasted with other 3-year-olds.
Quick question, because we're almost out of time. Does your book offer people some solutions for detox?
It does. It does. And there are a handful and a growing number, and there are some extraordinarily effective ways that we can begin to detox. We need to figure out ways to bring that to people.
All right. We got to go to break. Dr. Lonke, thank you. Thank you so much. We'll be right back in 1 minute. I'll give you some more solutions on the other side of this break. Thank you. Stay with us.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Hundreds of nations have fallen to tyranny in the last century alone. This is our last chance to not relive history.
As we're finishing off this agenda, they'll be pulling the rug from underneath Americans at home.
I have tremendous influence on our president and Congress, and they really are calling the shots.
I think it's incumbent upon all of us as American citizens to pay attention.
Fall of the Republic identifies the enemies of our nation, the criminal offshore cartel, hell-bent on destroying sovereignty, and on its ashes constructing world government.
Tim Geithner, Bernanke, they're arsonists. They're asking for more matches. And the Congress is saying, who do we make the check out to?
Today, seems like nobody does care. And right now in Washington, D.C., we have seen a fall of the Republic.
Get your copy of Fall of the Republic on DVD at Infowars.com or watch it online right now in super high quality at PrisonPlanet.tv.
Waging war on corruption. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.